This is The Ultimate Entrepreneur with Jay Abraham, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Welcome back to The Ultimate Entrepreneur, exclusively at ASBN.com. We are joined once again by one of the most legendary strategic minds in the world of entrepreneurship, Mr. Jay Abraham. He's a business leader, top executive coach, and the founder and CEO of the Abraham Group. Jay Abraham, thank you so much for taking the time out of what is a very busy schedule, traveling all over the world, helping companies large and small in growing their bottom line. Thank you so much for taking the time with us here at ASBN. Very much appreciate it.
Well, I'm very grateful for the audience and for having a chance to impact your entrepreneurs. So it's my privilege, Jim. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate it very much. I know that our viewers do too. They get so much out of it. We get such great comments whenever you're on. So thanks again. I'm going to go through some concepts here that you know a little something about because it's from your program. But if you would share your thoughts on these different topics with our audience, I think it'll make for a great show. So you've got an area where it's finding hidden growth in your business, and so many business owners, as you know, are looking to grow their business in any way that they can. And I think you point out that there's a lot of different revenue streams that are in your business that you might just not be aware of. So how to better spot these revenue streams? And I'll let you pick it up from there.
Well, it's a pretty broad umbrella. So let me try to divide and conquer. Great question, though. So just to give some context, my career has spanned many decades, and it's also spanned many industries in many parts of the world. And I've dedicated it to try to work on what I call the geometry of a business, meaning the same time, same effort, same opportunities, same resources, same access to audience, same people, same money can produce X or can produce 5X, and that 5X can be multiplied over a long term. So I am fixated on helping entrepreneurs reap a lot more yield from everything they do and every way they do it. So to answer your question and to go through some fundamentals, the first thing I ever taught many years ago was called the 3 ways to grow a business. It's very simplistic, but it's very powerful. There are only really 3 ways to grow any business. People think, oh, there must be a trillion. There are a multitude of tactics, but there's only 3 basic drivers, and there's 3 advanced ones. They are: you increase the number of buyers, increase the size of the transaction and thus the profit it produces, increase the frequency, assuming you have something to sell often or some multiple things to sell. And if you don't, you increase the utility, which means other ways you can monetize the relationship you have with that buyer and even a prospect. When you do only one, you get a linear result. When you increase all 3, even by as little as 10%, you multiply the total result you generate by 33%. It doesn't cost any more time. It's just how you do things. There are about 30 ways to increase the number of buyers. The first and easiest is to reduce the amount of attrition. Most small, medium businesses don't have a clue, Jim, how many buyers stop buying. If you just worked on abating that, and there's many mechanisms, we can do a whole show on that. It's just like adding people. Most people who have a business generate almost all their business from one primary source. And sometimes that primary source is very suboptimal. Could be word of mouth, could be referrals, could be just a location in a shopping center, could be, advertising on one of the platforms, could be a trade show. Whatever you do, first of all, the odds are very low that you are getting the full performance out of it. We have studied performance variability. That means different ways of doing something within the realm of what you already do. So as an example, we have found ways that you can change what a salesperson says when he or she has the first conversation with a prospective buyer. It can be on the phone, it can be in person, it can be at a trade show, it can be on a Zoom meeting. And we've been able to quintuple the result. Same time, same effort, same access. So if you're closing
Wow.
1 out of 20, you would close 1 out of 3 or 4, whatever the math is.
Right.
When you have a certain way of reducing risk, it's called risk reversal.
Mm-hmm.
You can increase the number of people who take advantage because you've taken away the objection by 25 to 100%. And everything I'm going to chronicle it's additional. It's not the same 100%. It's not the
Right.
same. I'm just showing you some easy things. When you add a bonus, you can double the number of people that say yes. Those are just a few things. But if you're generating your revenue from one area, first thing you want to do is better optimize it. But the irony is, if you talk to, well, you've got hundreds of thousands of people visiting the platform every month. If you analyzed how each of those businesses generate revenue, you would be shocked. There might be 50 different ways. And the irony is many of those 50 ways could be utilized by everybody, but people tend to follow the herd.
Yeah.
They do pretty much what everyone else does.
Yep.
We get our clients to apply what we call a power parthenon. A power parthenon means, think about a Parthenon in Greece. It's got all these columns. It means if all your business is generated by one source, then it's limiting. You can add many more sources to what you do. But if you basically add 2 or 3 more sources, we try to get our clients to do 9, it can redouble the business because no one else goes at it. So a lot of people use salespeople. If you don't use salespeople, it's cool. A lot of people use online marketing. If you don't know online marketing, you can add it. A lot of people, don't really use collaborative relationships. I'll get into that in a minute. So first thing is, you're probably not even coming close to optimizing the performance of what you're already doing, because you have a revenue system, whether you like it or not. It's how people are targeted, what you do when you start the relationship, how you convert it to a transaction, how you upgrade it ethically for more profitability, how you monetize it ongoing if you don't have anything else to sell, how you find other qualitative ways to ethically monetize it.
Sure.
And I go on and on. I don't want to be too esoteric, but any of those, not all of them, any of those can multiply your business. But I live in a world where top line is not what I focus on. We can increase top line, but everyone goes for a 10x moonshot concept, and that is very dangerous. We go for a 10x bottom line, which is almost no risk, no cost. It's just being able to understand how to demand and command a lot more result performance out of everything you do. I don't know if that answer is a good starting point, but
yeah, there's no question. And so many small business owners and those that are watching feel as though, well, no, I'm selling the widgets that I build, and I've got a solid business in doing that. And Jay, how else can I make money unless I'm going to invest in more equipment or more machinery or better salespeople or a bigger team? And that's kind of risk in itself. Do I really want to do that? And what you're saying is, no. The answer is right underneath your nose with your current team, with your current assets, maybe with your current product, or maybe with some derivative of that current product, right?
Well, you can be my torque converter at the UN. And there's another area which is fascinating. I've got literally hundreds of performance enhancement methodologies that don't cost any more or have any more risk, but soft skills can be profound. For example, if you deal with a buyer, or any of your team does, and you train them in consultative selling, advisory selling, listening, understanding what it's like to be in their shoes at a deeper level, that training can multiply the results of your interaction, meaning the conversions, the average size sale, the upsells, the resells you get, by up to 100%. And it's simple, but when you ask a typical small medium entrepreneur, do you train your salespeople? Their answer is automatically yes, but they're not hearing the literal question. I'm asking, do you train them in consultative, strategic, advisory selling? They're answering a question they're hearing, which is, do you train them in product knowledge?
Right.
Totally. And I try to get every client of mine to get everybody in their organization that has any interface with a prospective buyer or an existing buyer to understand consultative training, because it's the most powerful connector you can make. There are other soft skills. Stephen M.R. Covey, who I hope will have on one of the interview sessions we'll end up doing, is the world authority on business trust building. He has studied the concept of trust building. If you ask any ethical entrepreneur, do you, your company, your salespeople, your team, do they convey trust? You would say, of course. But there are gradients of trust. He has found 13 characteristics that, if improved, can multiply your results through trust building and how you communicate, interact, how you even express things in your marketing, your advertising, by 300%. And all these percentages are not aggregate. They are additional.
Right.
That's why I have so many success stories where they've just exploded by thousands or 10,000s of percent over a year or two, because each of these additions are additive. They're not just all of them together as 100% or 50%.
Sure.
Each one can be 25, 50, 100. And you have this portfolio of optionality, of choices, of possibilities you can add. And almost none of them, Jim, require any more investment risk. They're just using time and opportunity better.
It says, and my notes here, why more sales isn't always the fastest way to grow profits. You know, people hear that and they think, well, of course, if you got to grow profits, you first have to grow sales, but you say not so fast, right?
Absolutely. Let me give you some shocking reality checks. First of all, most entrepreneurs, SMBs, will concentrate on bringing in more buyers. That correlates with success. But really, you have a sunk cost in doing it. It's usually the most expensive, the slowest, the most inefficient, and the hardest thing to do is sell somebody the first time, particularly if you have to do it in outside marketing, because you don't have trust. You're going to get a very low conversion.
Right.
Takes time. It's a pain, and it's hard. Once you get that sale, it costs you nothing to increase the size with either upsells, packages, bigger units of sale, higher grading, any of a number of things. It costs you nothing to get them to buy again and again, other than the ability to basically qualitatively and ethically direct them, program them, in their best interest. Most people only focus on bringing a lot of people in. The next denominator, and it's shocking, is that all prospects, all buyers, all sources of buyers aren't worth the same relative profit to you. A referral generated buyer normally is going to buy quicker. They are going to buy more. They're going to negotiate less. They're going to buy more things. They're going to buy more often. They're going to not argue. They're going to be more enjoyable, and they're going to freely generate more business. Whereas somebody that comes from an ad that they don't know you is going to be very hard. Even when you sell them the first time, they're going to be apprehensive. They're going to try to negotiate. They're going to equivocate. And different kinds of buyers are worth more or less. We live in a world, where I look at what's called the marginal net worth, which is another way of saying the lifetime value. Different types of buyers for different products and coming from different sources are worth much more or less, depending on the analysis. If I'm worth 5 times as much to you because I'm a certain kind of buyer, but you're dealing with me the same way you would deal with somebody that only buys a superficial, low price, low profit product, then you're inefficient and you're not strategic and you're not optimizing the opportunity. So you have to know what categories of buyers, what sources of buyers are worth more or less, and you have to basically invest more time, more effort, more attention on the higher yielding and less on the lower.
That's
I don't know
right.
if that.
And all too often, business owners will spend most of their time on that conquest customer, that customer that they haven't done business with before, the ones that, to your point, don't spend as much with your company first go around, and they're harder to convince to even do business with your business. And yet
fabulous.
Those seem to be the customers or the prospects that get the business owners most attention, right? Which they've got it wrong.
Yeah, well, here's the scary reality. If you ask every business owner, are you strategic? Their default is probably saying, yeah, sure. But when you really analyze the strategy they follow, it's called being tactical.
Right.
No one, even if you go to B school, most people don't understand these very powerful exponential performance mechanisms. But when you do, it changes how you use the investment portfolio called your business. People don't understand it. I look at a business as if it was a hedge fund. Mm-hmm. And a hedge fund is designed by and large to get an asymmetric upside, outside performance, and to de-risk the downside. Mm-hmm. And they have a collection, usually, of investment class investments in their portfolio, and different investments are designed to do different things. And you have an investment portfolio, which is your buyers, your repeat buyers, your sources of buyers, and then you have other assets that you aren't even aware of. Time is an asset, effort is an asset, opportunity is an asset. There's a list of probably 50. If you aren't looking at how much of your portfolio, your business, is invested in different asset classes and what the risk and the yield you're getting of each of those are, you are sub-optimizing. You might be putting an enormous amount of time in one area that has a very high risk, meaning it's not going to do that well. Maybe it's cold leads coming in, and you're getting a very low yield, whereas another area that you're not really recognizing to be many times higher yield and lower risk, you're putting a minuscule amount of time in. Just by understanding that can transform performance.
Yeah, no question. Why do we all have blinders on when, as an entrepreneur and the things that you're talking about, I'm thinking about our own businesses and our own companies and all the opportunities that lie out there. But all too often, entrepreneurs and small business owners and SMBs, we have blinders on, don't we, in this regard? And we don't see the huge ocean of opportunities that are right in front of us that, to your point, don't cost any more money.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you a positive and a negative, and the negative is a buffer negative. First of all, the negative is not their fault. Most people have spent the majority of their life in one or two related fields, and they have learned through observational osmosis.
Okay.
They see how you do it, and they follow the herd.
Yep.
And we call that being wedded to tradition.
Right.
Now, I would call myself an anomaly. I'm a very unique animal. Over my career, I have had the very scary but very unique privilege of being involved with over 1,000 industries, not clients. And I developed a concept called funnel vision over tunnel vision. And what this means is if you look at as many industries as I have, not businesses, you will see decisively different business models. Mm-hmm. Some have one kind of strategy, some have another. Some have one kind of revenue generation model, some have another. Some have a certain kind of a sourcing approach, some have another. Mm-hmm. Different ones have different revenue models, mm-hmm. different access vehicles, different distribution sources. But most of those, believe it or not, are translatable and transferable. But if all you know is what everyone else does, the way everyone else does it, and this is the scary part, even if you're much better than they are, you are limited by and large to incremental growth because they're all doing the same thing the same way.
Right.
But if you understand alternative ways of doing it, you can basically explode because the statistical probability is that what most industries do as their standard operating procedures is not optimal. It's just what everyone has has learned to follow. There are almost always higher, better, faster, safer, more profitable, more preeminent alternative ways to do it. When I started, I realized that a concept gym from another industry or many other industries that is literally as common in dirt as dirt in those industries, but is not known in your industry, when properly adapted and adopted and applied to your industry, can give you an explosive, basically just the kind of growth as if you had a tightly coiled industrial huge spring that you just let go and it just explodes upward.
Right.
And it's safe, but most people don't understand that. There are many ways to do something. I mean, we call it optionality. We call it, your choices. Most people don't understand. You have so many more ways of doing it more efficiently, more effectively, more profitably. You just have never been exposed to it. I have. Secondly, and interestingly, we were doing a little analysis a couple of days ago for a project I'm on. I've had the good fortune of helping over 300 of the world's top business experts. None of them came to me for help with their expertise. They'd already developed, refined, and perfected this unique skill. This, Tony Robbins is a client and a colleague, Damon John, the late Stephen Covey, his son Stephen M.R. Covey, Brian Tracy, all these people. But they came for help commanding more decisive and compelling value in the market, where they would stand out, where people would see the concrete worth of what that expert had over somebody else. But in order to help them, I had to learn a compressed essence of their body of work. Mm-hmm. So unusually and scarily, that word exists. I understand 350 or so different business expertises that most entrepreneurs who are SMBs would never even be exposed to. So I have the ability to expose people to an integrated understanding of what I'd call the meaning of business life in a way that most people would never be able to because they haven't lived it.
That's right. That's right. And this is exactly why we love your segments here on ASBN, The Ultimate Entrepreneur. Jay Abraham, business leader, top executive coach, an incredible author, and founder and CEO of the Abraham Group. I want to thank you so much for once again joining us on the show for this Ultimate Entrepreneur segment with you, Mr. Jay Abraham. Appreciate it very, very much. I know that our viewers get so much out of it. As I said earlier, we get so many great comments, and keep it up. And I can't wait till the next segment. So look forward to seeing you.
Thank you for the privilege. I appreciate it, Jim.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching The Ultimate Entrepreneur with Jay Abraham, exclusively on ASBN.com.